Right. All right, let's get this started. So we're going to do a couple things. Go into producer, create a broadcast. Dun, dun, dun. Learn AI. Do, do, do. All right, welcome everybody. In case there's anybody here yet. Technology, we'll do that. Select a source. We'll say New York City. Get this thing going. Hearts off. Schedule start immediately. Let's do it. Create broadcast. We are live, everybody. It's going to be fun. Okay, so that's live. Let's share out the link. Over here. We're live. Do. All right, here we go. Welcome, everybody. We're just getting everything started. Bear with me while I get everything set up. We're almost there. Dun, dun, dun. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you how to get started. You don't need to know the code. So boom, get your first OpenAI API. Boom. Okay, bada bing. It's going to be fun. All right, I'm going to send out this tweet. We're live. A lot of you said you want to build an AI app, but haven't tried it yet. I'm going to show you how to get started. You don't need a code. Okay, post. Let's go. All right. Here we go. All right, everybody. Let's do this. All right, 28 viewers. What's up, y'all? So I'm going to say hi. Get in there and comment. Say hello, please. And I'm going to start the YouTube as well. All right, let's go live. do. Almost there, y'all. All right. So good to see everybody here. Meta, David, how's it going? What we're going to do is teach you the basics of system prompting. We're going to teach you how to get an OpenAI API key. We're just going to dive in. While we get things started, feel free to say hi in the comments, in the chat, in the live stream. We've already got 53 of you here, which is fun. Alex, good to see you here. Thanks for tuning in. And on the screen, you can see, oh, actually, I need to share my screen, silly me. 1 second. That would be helpful. Let's get that done. That's hilarious. Forgot to share my screen. Here we go. Share screen. Window. Chrome tab. Let's get this one back over here. Just bear with me, y'all. Getting everything set up. So everyone else that's watching, 58 of you, come on, say hello in the comments and Twitter. I see you. Great to have you here. Let's share my screen. We'll get things started. Window. Here we go. All right. Okay. So, Julio Medina, thanks. I like my bookshelf. A lot of these books are my wife's books. My wife's. I'm married to one person. My amazing wife. These are all her books, and obviously I like Back to the Future and Jordan's and various things like that. So while we get things started, in the comments, why don't you let me know if you are trying to build something in AI, if you're interested in AI, if you've used any of the APIs, whether that's for OpenAI or Anthropic. Let me know. We'll get started in just a second. Also, so I put up ryancarson.com/New Dork City. So if you want to subscribe to a newsletter where I talk a lot about building on AI, it's a free newsletter where I talk about building things with AI, using AI. In general, if you're just excited about AI and want to build with it, then feel free to subscribe. It's free. You just pop your email address in there. And this is just on my website, ryancarson.com /New Dork City. Trying to build an app. So Taherd Hanara says trying to build an app. Tell us what kind of app you're building in the comments. That'd be great. All right. So once again, feel free to subscribe to that to the newsletter if you want to learn more about that. I'm actually going to pop that in here in case you want to subscribe. Obviously, it's free. All right, so let's walk you through some stuff. How do you get started with system prompts? How do you get started with prompt engineering? How do you get started with building on AI? So Explore, Safari, Note, you don't need any technical skills. So all you need to do is be curious. And so I'm going to make sure that we're not live on, yeah, we are live. Okay, good. I just want to see. Okay, good. Yeah, we're live in YouTube as well. So I see MS Lifters over on YouTube. Good to see you. So, okay, good. So we're live on YouTube. We're live on Twitter. MGKZ Pope time. Sorry, POAP's not happening. If you're here for the POAPs, not going to get any. But I appreciate you stopping by. So, all right. So let's get started and do some very basic system prompts, some prompt engineering, explain how this all works. So the first thing I'd love everybody to do is just pop in the comments and let us know, have you done any prompt engineering before, or have you messed around with the system prompts? Do you even know what that means? And I'm also going to go over to Twitter to see if anyone is commenting over here. All right. Yes, the link to the newsletter is ryancarson.com/new dash dork dash city. So it's right here. All right. So let's get started. The first thing to do is obviously connect the dots on what is the system prompt, what is, and how does it compare to ChatGPT. So all of us have probably used ChatGPT by now. I'm on chat.openai.com, and I'm using the standard interface here. I pay for a Plus account so I can use GPT-4. I really, really love this. I use this hundreds of times a day. So everybody knows how this works in ChatGPT, right? So you say, hi, right? Obviously, ChatGPT says back, hello, how can I assist you today? So now what's happening behind the scenes here? Let's find out. So what you need to do is go into platform.openai.com, and I'm going to show you how this works. So go to openai.com, and then in the top window, you'll see a login. So first of all, you need to create a login. You might already have one if you have a ChatGPT account. Great, go ahead and log in. And then once you've done that, then go to API. So that's where we're in the playground. So this is where all the magic, all the stuff that's actually happening behind the scenes with ChatGPT is really happening. I want to help you understand how it works, because once we pull back the curtain on how things work, then you can start to build on it. So we're using what's called the playground. So once you've created your account and you've gotten access to the playground, I think the best thing to do is get an API key and plug in your credit card so you can use GPT-4. Now, you only have to pay for what you're using. So let me walk you through that real quick. So you're going to go, again, log into OpenAI, go into the backends, and we're going to go into settings and into API keys. API keys are essentially your password to use OpenAI. Now, obviously, you can't see mine here because they're secret. Once somebody knows your API key, then they can use your account. So obviously, you don't want that to happen. So once you create an account and you plug in your credit card details, now again, you're only going to be charged for what you use, so don't worry about that. Then you create a new key. We'll call this, messing around. You can call it whatever you want. Now, because I'm showing you this, I'm going to delete this key in a second so you all can't use my credits. But this is what an API key looks like. And once it's created, you won't be able to see it again. So it's important to write it down. And then I'm going to delete that. Okay. And you can see that this is how I built Maple, right? So I used OpenAI's APIs. I've got a production key and a developer key. So again, what does an API key do? It allows you to use all the technology behind ChatGPT and build something of your own, right? You can build a website and you can plug in all sorts of AI functionality using OpenAI. So that's what API keys are for. And once you have an API key, the magic kind of begins because you can start actually building. So once again, go into openai.com, create an account, and then plug in your credit card, and then create an API key. Now, once you've done all that, the fun begins. Okay, so we're going to go back to the playground. Excuse me. All right, so let's go to chat. Now, if you have your credit card plugged in, then you can use all of the better models. So again, that's part of the reason why I think it's important to do that, so that you can experience their best model. Now, if you don't know what a model is, and this is all new to you, think about this as versions of software that OpenAI is using. And you can use older versions for free or for cheap, You've got all of these ones back here, or you can use the new fancy ones if you're willing to pay a little bit. The most cutting edge one is GPT-4 11.06 preview. So that's what we're going to use today. It's the most capable version. You can think of these almost as brains, right? They're getting better and better and better. So if you want to use the best OpenAI brain, you want to use GPT-4, and we'll go from there. So now we said hi to ChatGPT and it said, hello, how can I assist you today? Well, let's do that in the playground. So this is the system message. We're going to talk about system prompts in a minute, but we're going to say hi. And then what you can see is the assistant said, hello, how can I assist you today? So it's the same thing happening, but this is happening in a playground that we can control things. So, and once again, good to see you all here. I want to say hi again to Explore, so Phi, MGKZ, Billy Boozer, what's up? I didn't see you there. Thanks for stopping by. And we'll go from there. All right, so what we're doing today is really showing you how to use OpenAI's APIs. We're showing you how to do basic prompt engineering. I'm trying to take back the curtain here and show you that building on top of AI is easier and less scary than you think, and you don't need to know how to code. So what we've done so far is we've gone into OpenAI, we've created an account, we've added our credit or debit details so that we can use the best model. If you don't do that, you can't use GPT-4. So we're going to do that. And I'm going to show you how to do prompt engineering. So prompt engineering at its core is basically editing this system prompt to get the model, which is GPT-4, to act in a different way and do different things, right? Now, when you're using ChatGPT, you don't really know what the system prompt is. It's a really complex system prompt that tells it to do all sorts of things, but you don't see it. So let's dive in. A couple things that I want to show you are here. Okay. So if you go to platform.openai.com/examples, you actually get to see a lot of fun prompt examples that will help us understand a little bit how system prompts work. So let's do emoji translation. Okay. So let's actually open this in the playground. It opens up in another window. It's kind of weird. Okay. We'll just do this. Where is that going? Yeah, you can do it. Okay. Took a couple clicks. Okay. So now under system prompt, it says you will be provided with text and your task is to translate it into emojis. Do not use any regular text. Do your best with emojis only. So this is a prompt. We're engineering it, right? We're telling the large language model to act differently than normal. And then the user is saying, artificial intelligence is a technology with great promise. I'm going to say something else like, I really love sailing. Let's see what it does. Now, it took this system prompt and did something completely different, right? So now let's try this over, but let's delete this, right? And let's resubmit this. Well, it didn't have special instructions, so it just responded like normal. Actually, let's switch this to 4. Gets even better. So that's what a system prompt does, right? So now the fun thing about the playground is you can delete messages, you can edit messages, you can start over. Whereas in here, it's harder to do that. So again, this is kind of leveling up your ability to use AI to get what you want out of AI by understanding a little bit of the magic behind the curtain. So that's really my goal here. All right, so let's go back and again, popped in that system prompt. You will be provided with text and your task is to translate it into emojis. Do not use regular text. Do your best with emojis only. And let's try a new one. So I really love my mom. fast. All right. There you go. Love, Mom. All right. So that's a very simple system prompt. Now, there's other interesting things going on over here. Temperature, max length, stop sequences, top P. There's a lot of knobs that we can tweak here. And we're not going to mess with those yet, but I will show you later how to do that. So let's look at some more fun examples. All right. Let's do a spreadsheet creator. Okay. Now, this is interesting because we don't need a special system prompt for this one. It's the default. It says create a 2-column CSV of top science fiction movies along with the year of release. Let's switch to GPT-4. Let's hit submit. Okay, so what it's doing is it's actually outputting a comma separated value string. Let's see how long it goes on for. The Martian, that was so good. Okay, so kind of a fun little tip here is you notice it added these 3 backticks. So that on your keyboard it depends if you're on a Mac or PC. If you're on a Mac, it's below the tilde, which is up in the numbers. And it helps a large language model like GPT-4 understand that you want something enclosed, that it belongs together. It helps the large language model know when it starts. So it starts here and it ends here. So if you have a chunk of text that you want the large language model to understand, I'm just talking about this text, do something with it, then these, they're called delimiters, help with that. And it's actually telling it this is CSV. So for instance, if I said, actually, okay, let's do this. Please update this text. I could use delimiters to write the text and then close the delimiters there. And then I can say something else. With emoji. And then output the results in French. I'm gonna actually say something. Hello, I love Christmas. All right, let's see what happens. Okay, so you'll notice what did these 3 backticks do? It helped the large language model understand that I just want you to update this text, right? One of the keys with prompt engineering, with using large language models, is that they can't read your mind, and you really have to be specific. And imagine you were talking to somebody and you sent them text. It might not be as clear if you didn't include these. It might not know, well, which text. Does it include this? I don't think it does. But by putting a delimiter, it just makes it really clear. Now, all right, so let's go back to some of these fun examples. All right, move to color. Let's try this. Okay. So now it says you'll be provided with a description of a mood, and your task is to generate the CSS code for a color that matches it. Write your output in JSON with a single key called CSS code. Now, this is kind of techie code stuff, so don't worry if you don't understand all that. But I'm giving it technical instructions, right? I'll switch to GPT-4. Now, let's see what it does. Okay, interesting. So it's spitting out code, right? Now, again, what would happen if we went back to just ChatGPT and said this with no system instruction? Interesting. It's creating an image, right? So that's kind of fun. But it didn't know exactly what we want it to do. But here, we've said, we want you to do this specific thing. And it actually spat out what's called JSON, which is used in programming. So now the other thing to notice is temperature is 0. So why? Well, temperature is almost, think of it as a creativity slider. So I don't want it to be random or creative at all. Like I just want to do the exact task I gave it, and I don't want it to get creative, right? So I'm saying 0. Now, what if we put this at let's put this at 1.6. Let's delete the system response and submit it again. Okay, it still worked, which is good. Now let's go to, let's see if it works. It's still working, which is interesting. But generally, when you give the LLM a very specific task that you want to do exactly this thing, and I don't want you to color outside of the lines, then you put this down at 0 or very low. For instance, when I built Maple, we tend to use temperature at 0.2 because I really don't want it imagining a lot of things. I want it to be as predictable as possible. So that's what temperature does. Max length, it's interesting. This determines how long the response is, right? So let's take this out. Let's say, please write a story about a whale. And then let's take this down to like really 100 tokens. So it's going to start doing that. I'm going to raise up my desk for a second. Okay, so it stopped. Now, it did that because we said the maximum length that we want you to respond with is 100 tokens. So let's talk about tokens a little bit, just because you need to understand a little bit of that. There is a token counter, OpenAI. There we go. Okay. So when you're dealing with large language models, which is primarily what we think of as AI right now, GPT for ChatGPT, the new Bard with Gemini. Anthropic has a large language model called Claude 2. These are all LLMs, and they use tokens, which are chunks of words, right? So let's go back into here. And let's figure out, okay, this little story that started to write. Let's pop it in here. And you'll notice, oh, interesting, it's 100 tokens, right? So it stopped producing the result because it hit 100 tokens. Now, what's interesting about tokens is they're not words. They're usually chunks of words. What's interesting is most of these are full words. But let's just use an example. So you notice it says many words map to one token, but some don't, right? You notice, oh, weird, DON is a token and apostrophe T is a token. Now, this is not something you need to care about right now, understand, but what large language models do is they essentially predict the next token, right? So they look at, let's actually show you how this works. Okay, so we'll say peanut butter and. Oh, that's interesting. Peanut butter and. It's peanut butter, so it's actually, let's go to temperature of 1. So this is kind of this is what's fun about messing around. Peanut butter and. Peanut butter, okay, let's change top P down to 0. Let's try this again. Cancel. Interesting. The fascinating things about LLMs, they don't always do what you want them to do, which is why you have to prompt engineer them, right? You have to iterate your system prompt and try things. So let's try some more fun examples. Where did my examples go? Here we go. Okay. Let's try Marv, the sarcastic chatbot. Okay, so what we're doing here is we've got a system prompt. It says, you are Marv, a chatbot that reluctantly answers questions with sarcastic responses. And it's got a couple actually examples of chat. So was Google too busy? Hypertext markup language. The T is for try and ask better to ask better questions in the future. Oh, sorry. How many pounds are in a kilogram? This again, there are 2.2 pounds in the kilogram. Please make note of this. So it's giving some examples. I'm going to delete these. Say, where is New York City? Let's change it to 4. Let's see what happens. Chilling in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, hanging out with Atlantis. So again, we got the large language model to act like we want it to using this system prompt. So let's review a little bit. So when using ChatGPT, generate an image for us, you're using a large language model, which is a very complex piece of software. It's a neural network that it's choosing which token to say next, right? So you give it some tokens and it's just predicting which token to say next. And it sounds very simple, but it's some of the magic that you're seeing come out of ChatGPT and other large language models. So we can chat to it here, as you all know. But if you want to start building with AI, you want to start going behind the curtain, you can sign up for your OpenAI API key. You can sign up, you can add your credit card in, and then you can start messing around in the playground. So you go to playground and you can start messing around with the system prompt, right? Now, for instance, let's say you're a Python tutor. Please teach me the basics of Python by asking me to complete beginner code challenges. I don't know any Python. We're going to choose 4. We're going to put the temperature down to 2. I don't want it to be super creative. We'll bump the maximum length up to 500 tokens. All right, absolutely. I'd be happy to help you learn Python through some beginner code challenges. So it's going to, let it finish real quick. Oh, it's listing the challenges. All right, so what do we do here? We basically prompt engineered. We updated the system prompt to get a result, right? So it's saying, absolutely, I'd be happy to help you learn this. And then, interestingly, it's using Markdown, which is a way to make text easier to understand. So this is a header. It says challenge 1, hello world. And then it's got the coding challenge, and then you put your Python here. Now, this isn't quite what I wanted, right? So I'm going to say, give me one challenge at a time. Let's try it again. Let's delete the assistant. Let's say submit. Absolutely. I'd be happy to guide. All right, challenge number 1. It's giving us some instructions. Your task is to execute this program. Let's see the output. Okay, so we just did some prompt engineering, right? We added this line, give me one challenge at a time. And then the behavior of the large language model changed, right? So by iterating and iterating, you can get the large language model to act like you want it to act. Now, I'll show you kind of a fun system prompt that I did in the past. All right, one second. Okay, so I'm going to plug this in. I'm going to delete all this. Okay, so now this is a little more specific. Please be my Python tutor and always follow these rules. Please ask me if I'm a beginner, intermediate, or advanced. Remember my answer. Number 2, when teaching, don't give me answers, but instead ask helpful questions that help me discover the correct answer. And you can see I'm using a numbered list here. So again, this is part of prompt engineering, right? You're you're being specific with the large language model about what you need. All right. So number one, number two, when teaching, don't give me answers, but instead ask helpful questions. Number three, after teaching me something, stop and give me a small challenge. Do not continue until I have passed the challenge. If I start to ask questions unrelated to Python, remind me that my goal is to learn Python. Wait and start teaching and wait to start teaching until I ask you to begin. Remember to explain things at my level. So I'm giving instructions right now. This is kind of interesting. I said every time I complete a challenge successfully, add 100 points to my score. And you may think, well, how does it know how to keep track of these things? Well, let's see. So every time I gain 300 points, tell me I've unlocked a hidden game. In the game, ask me to guess the important historical event that you're describing with an emoji. So essentially, I built a little tutor, right, with one prompt. Now, I had to iterate on this prompt a lot to get it to this point. I was trying different things, but let's give it a whirl. See, it's obeying my instruction. When you're ready to begin learning Python, just let me know so we can start, which I said somewhere in here. Wait to start teaching until I ask you to begin. Okay, so ready. Great. Before we start, could you please tell me if you consider yourself a beginner, intermediate, or advanced? So it's following my instructions. So this is, unless you give very specific instructions to large language model, it's going to respond with the next token that it thinks makes the most sense, which it got by being trained on all of the internet. So it doesn't know exactly what you want. So I'll say beginner. Now it's going to carry on, right? So it's going to teach me some basics of Python, etc. So you can essentially build a tutor of any type with one prompt, right? Excuse me. So this kind of shows you some of the things you can do. Now, why not just do this in ChatGPT, right? So let's actually take this prompt. Okay. And let's start a new chat. Let's put it in here. And it should act very similarly. Understood. All right. So it's following my instructions. Now, that's great. And I could use this personally. Honestly, this is how I taught myself full stack JavaScript. So I used ChatGPT Plus and custom system prompts like this to learn JavaScript, to learn Next.js, to learn React, and then built Maple, right? So now, but the problem is, like, I can't show this really. I can show this to other people, but I can't build a website around it. I can't build a tutor that I want other people to use if they haven't heard of ChatGPT. What if they don't have a ChatGPT account? Well, you can actually start to build this, right? So I'm gonna show you. There's this neat thing up here called view code. So again, you don't need to know code right now, but I'm just going to show you kind of what's going on here, because behind the scenes, then you can take this code, you can put it on your own website, and you can start to build apps that use OpenAI's large language models. So that's where the API key comes into play. So you import, we're using Python. You could use all sorts of different things to do this. And you're importing OpenAI. That's all the code that runs OpenAI. It's using your API key behind the scenes. Then we're saying we want to use GPT-4 as the model. And then here is the system prompt content. So now this is going to be really long, right? This is the huge prompt that I wrote. Okay. And it's saying, all right, the system prompt should say this. I'm actually going to delete those other things so it's less confusing. Let's delete these messages because I don't want them to be included. Okay, view code. So now you can see we said, okay, we want a response. This is the model we're using. This is our system prompt, and our temperature is 0.2. So you're starting to connect the dots here between all this stuff and actual code, right? And if you start to understand how that works, then you can start to think about, wow, maybe I could build an app that uses OpenAI's LLM to help somebody do something, and then maybe I could charge money for that, right? Um, and at its core, that's what I'm doing with Maple, right? So I thought learning sales is really hard. I didn't like to learn sales. I wish I had a better sales coach. And I thought, oh, I can use all of the power of GPT-4 and I can teach people how to be great salespeople. And then I can charge a monthly fee for that. Because you have to remember uh, most of the world does not use ChatGPT. They're not paying for ChatGPT Plus, and they can't do these advanced things. So you can build apps that help them do things, and you can build a living off that. So that's the basics, right? So I'm going to recap one more time. So what we're doing today is talking about how do you get started with building on top of AI, right? So the first thing you do is you go to openai.com, and OpenAI is one of many large language model creators, right? There's Anthropic, there is Google, now at Gemini. There's a lot of open source models if you go to Hugging Face. So there's a lot of options, but we're just going to pick OpenAI right now because they're the best known. And you go into log in, you create an account. If you have a ChatGPT account, you can use that. And then once you're logged in, then you go to, let's hear, it's asking me to sign in, which I'm already signed in. But once you're in here, then you can get your API key, which I showed you how to do. You just click create new secret key. Now you wouldn't want to show that to anybody. That's why you can't see mine here because they're secret. Because once someone has your secret, they can use your account. And if you put in your credit card, they can use up your credit. So you wouldn't want to do that. Now that you have an API key and you put in your credit card, you can go to the playground, which is here. And you can start using GPT-4 and you can start messing around with it. And again, prompt engineering is just learning how to talk to the large language model to get it to do what you want it to do, right? And then I showed you all some examples of fun system prompts and how they affect the large language model. So we did, for instance, an emoji chat bot. Let's open Playgrounds. And the system prompt is very simple. You'll be provided with the message, and your task is to respond using emojis only. There you go. So that's one system prompt. Now, now prompt engineering is just a very fancy word for editing this and trying new things to get it to do what you want. So once you start to play around with this and you think, okay, I want to get better at this. Now, a great resource is this. So platform.openai.com/docs/guides/prompt-engineering. Now there's just a gold mine of information here. So I'll walk you through them. 6 strategies for getting better results. Number 1, include details in your query to get more relevant answers. Ask the model to adopt a persona. We did a little bit of that. Use delimiters to clearly indicate distinct parts of the input. That's what I showed you with the 3 backticks, where you want the large language model to look only at a chunk of text. Specify the steps required to complete a task. I showed you that with the Python tutor. Provide examples, and finally specify the desired length of the output. Now, I'm going to walk you through. These are a couple more advanced, not advanced, but they're more, I think, interesting examples of prompt engineering. The Tech FAI says this is superb session, Ryan. Thank you very much. You're very kind. Thanks for stopping by. I am reading the comments, so if you all pop a comment in the live stream, I'd love to see it. So feel free to do that. Let us know kind of where you're at in your AI building journey. If you're thinking about it or if you're deep in it, would love to hear from you all. All right, so let's dive into a couple details here. Once you've messed around with system prompts using the playground, then you can go into this more slightly advanced fun stuff. All right, so we've got provide reference text. So let's go down to the example. All right, this is an example. Use the provided articles delimited by triple quotes to answer the question. If it cannot be found in the articles right, I could not find an answer. Now, okay, let's look at this. What does this mean? All right. Here's the system prompt. Now, this is the message. So the user is saying, okay, see these triple quotes? That's helping the large language model understand, like, where's the beginning and end of this text I'm supposed to look at? So use the provided articles delimited by triple quotes to answer the questions. So we basically gave it information. It's kind of interesting. Like, you could copy and paste an FAQ from your business in here and say, just answer questions about my business. And then you could add that to your website. So this is information about curling in the 2022 Winter Olympics. This is kind of structured data. It looks like JSON. And then it's a bunch of data, right? So the question is, who won the gold medal? Now, let's actually try this using ChatGPT. Now, it probably is trained on the right data and will because it's got updated data and the model's getting better and better. So let's see. The team from Great Britain. Let's see. Submit. Yep. Same answer. Now it's got more detailed information, which came from our text, right? So Eve Muirhead, she's here. So what we've said to the LLM is we want you specifically to look at this data and answer from this data. So that's kind of a cool power technique. And again, a lot of people are using that in the real world. If you have an FAQ that your customers are always asking you, you might want to put that FAQ into the model and say, look at this first. It's a good way to do that and get the answer you want. You don't want the large language model hallucinating and coming up with answers that are not correct. Now, if this were me, I would be choosing temperature 0 because I really don't want any creativity at all. I want it to be very predictable. It will give us the same answer, I presume. Okay. So that's kind of a fun example of instructing the model to use text, reference text. All right, so let's go back up here. So that's reference text, kind of interesting. Because I think a lot of people think, ChatGPT is just going to say what it's going to say. I can't really control where it gets its information from, and you can't. There's actually a much more advanced way to do this, which is really exciting with assistants, and you can actually embed a lot of data and then go from there. But that's a topic for another day. All right. We've got about 12 minutes left. All right. Provide reference text. We talked about split complex tasks into simpler subtasks. Now, large language models aren't alive, but they mimic some things that humans do that we understand. So, for instance, when you're talking to a colleague, or say you're managing somebody at work, you don't sit them down and say, okay, I'm going to give you 50 things to do. Go. It would be overwhelming, right? You tend to say, okay, I'm going to talk through the bigger picture. Here are the first 2 tasks I would like you to tackle. When you're done with those, come back, and then we can tackle the next tasks. Because that person can't keep all that in their short-term memory. They may remember the first 5, and then they forget the 6, right? So large language models are similar. They have what's called a context window, which is the maximum amount of things that they can keep, kind of remember. Think of it as their short-term memory. So let's see an example of how to do this. All right. So this is kind of interesting. So you provided with customer service queries. Classify each query into a primary category and a secondary category. Provide your output in JSON format with the keys primary and secondary. All right, it's kind of interesting. So the primary categories, you're giving it the list, billing, technical support. The billing secondary categories, so this is telling it, these are the categories underneath billing. Here are the secondary categories for technical support, which is up here. So, and so on. And then this person, think of them as a customer saying, I need to get my internet working again. I'm actually going to go to GPT-4. Let's see what it does. Isn't that fascinating? It basically took that and it spat out results based off of what we asked it to do, right? We said, okay, we want you to classify each query into a primary category and a secondary category. And then we said, then provide your output in JSON format. And you get, okay, yeah, this is a technical support query, and the secondary category is troubleshooting. So large language models can do a lot if you just know how to talk to them. All right. Let's keep looking. So this is just packed. And I would encourage you, like I said, just go here, platform.openai.com/docs/guides/prompt engineering. I'm actually going to put this link in the chat. Grok Notes, thanks for stopping by. So there's the, I popped it in the Twitter chat. I'm going to pop it in the YouTube chat as well. So you've got that link. It's fab, just packed with good data. And again, I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. If you've never messed around with prompt engineering or large language models, just remember at its core, it's very simple, right? You start out with ChatGPT. You can ask it questions. You get answers, right? But actually what's going on behind the hood is, let's go to the playground, right? So this gives you, like, you can play with all the knobs and all the levers, right? You can turn the knobs, pull the levers, and get the LM to act differently. So again, we could say the same thing here, hi, get a similar response. But we could say only respond in emoji. There you go. Wow. So whereas, I mean, now we could tell ChatGPT to do this. So let's start a new one. How are you? Okay. That's cool. But what we can't do is control some of these fine-tuned knobs. We can't control which model it's using. We can't control the temperature or the maximum length response. There's some other fun, super technical knobs we can turn, but we won't do that today. So if you really want to build on top of a large language model, you have to go to the next level of understanding what's happening behind the curtain, right? Which is you're starting to get a feel for it here, right? So I might say, let's just try some things. And this is prompt engineering, right? So I'm changing the system prompt. And a system prompt is just instructions for the LLM, right? And then I'm going to try things and they're not going to work quite right. So I'm going to try to tweak it, and that's prompt engineering, right? It's just iterating on your prompt. So we'll say the user is going to give you text delimited by 3 backticks. Oops, I didn't spell delimited right. Delimited. Translate this into French. Okay. Now the user would say, hello there. I love to sail on Sundays. But we're just going to do this. 1, 2, 3, 2, 3. Now, it's interesting. So it didn't work quite like I wanted. Translate this delimited text into French. Ignore everything else. All right, let's try this. There we go. So we just did some prompt engineering. As simple as that is, version 1 didn't work. Version 2 did, right? So that is at its core what you're doing. Now we could start to tweak the knobs even more. We could say, I really don't want any creativity. I want a predictable response. I want to give you lots of room to reply. And then you can resubmit that. Okay, so that's prompt engineering 101. And then you kind of go into even more exciting things like, we'll get there, y'all. Bear with me. These more advanced prompt engineering tactics, right? So we talked about providing a reference text. We talked about splitting complex tasks into simpler subtasks. Giving the model time to think is kind of interesting, using external tools. There's just a lot of really cool examples in here. So, all right. So hopefully that gave you some ideas of how to get started with prompt engineering, how to get your first OpenAI API key, and hopefully cracks that door open. So now it doesn't seem like it's all Latin and it's all confusing. Like you could actually get in here and do some of that stuff. If you like this kind of content, tutorials, how-tos on how to build with AI, how to launch apps and ideas, and if you like entrepreneurship and building things, feel free to subscribe to the newsletter. It's new. It's under New Dork City. So if you just go to ryancarson.com/New Dork City. And CodaKid, yes, we'll post it online. Feel free just to subscribe. It's a free newsletter. And we'll be putting all the content in there. I'm going to do more of these live streams. So let me know if there's any in particular that you would love that's valuable to you. And we'll go from there. So that is everything, y'all. I appreciate you stopping by. Hopefully you learned a little bit more about large language models, prompt engineering, building on top of AI, and you go from there. So thanks, everybody. Have a lovely, what is today, Wednesday? And if you're celebrating the holidays and Christmas and everything, hope you're having a lovely holiday period. And we'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.